Yellowstone, the first national park in the world, a paradise of forests, bison, bears, and multicolored hot springs that look like paintings. Every year, 4 million tourists visit this place to take pictures of the wild nature. They marvel at Old Faithful, the geyser that spits boiling water into the sky with the precision of a Swiss watch. They walk on wooden walkways, smelling the sulfur and feeling the heat of the steam. But most do not notice where they are stepping. They are not visiting a park. They are walking inside the mouth of the largest geological monster on Earth. Yellowstone does not have a volcano. Yellowstone is the volcano. Beneath that idyllic landscape, there exists a titanic magma chamber, 80 kilometers long. It is a reservoir of molten rock and crystal, large enough to fill the Grand Canyon 14 times, and it is alive. Scientists do not just call it a volcano. They use a term reserved for events that extinguish species, supervolcano. And the question that keeps NASA and the US government awake at night is not if it will explode, but when. To understand the beast, we need to look to the past. Yellowstone is not fixed. The North American tectonic plate moves over a stationary hotspot in the Earth's mantle. Like a blowtorch, burning a moving sheet of paper, this hotspot has created a trail of destruction over millions of years. The trace of this monster is the Snake River Plain in Idaho, a scar of black volcanic rock that tears through the American West. Yellowstone is just the current chimney of this infernal blowtorch. The monster has a cycle. It exploded 2,100,000 years ago, then 1,300,000 years ago, and the last time was 640,000 years ago. If you do the math, you'll notice something disturbing. The average interval is about 600 to 700,000 years. Mathematically, we are in the window for a new eruption. It doesn't mean it will happen tomorrow, but geologically, the volcano is due for an explosion. But how big would it be? Do you remember Mount St. Helens in 1980? That explosion blew the top off the mountain and killed 57 people. It was terrible. But compared to Yellowstone, St. Helens was a snap of the fingers. A super eruption in Yellowstone would be 2,500 times larger. It would not be a local event. It would be a regional extinction event and a global collapse. Let's simulate the worst-case scenario. If Yellowstone were to explode today, the first sign would be a swarm of intense earthquakes, indicating that the magma is breaking through the rock to rise. The ground of the park would lift meters in days. The explosion would be heard from the other side of the world. A column of ash would rise 50 kilometers, touching the edge of space. But what would kill would not be the noise. Within a radius of 100 kilometers, the death zone would have everything instantly vaporized by pyroclastic flows at 800 degrees Celsius. Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana would cease to exist as functional states within minutes. Cities like Salt Lake City and Denver would be buried under meters of hot volcanic ash, turning bodies into cement immediately. Roofs would collapse. The electrical grid would short-circuit. Water would be contaminated with fluoride and acid. The winds would carry the ash to the east. America's breadbasket, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, would be covered. U.S. agriculture, which feeds a large part of the world, would be annihilated for decades. Air traffic in North America would come to a halt immediately. Volcanic ash melts inside airplane turbines, turning into glass and stopping the engines. No one enters, no one leaves. But the true killer would be global. The sulfur dioxide released into the stratosphere would create a veil around the planet, blocking sunlight. The global temperature would drop drastically. We would enter a volcanic winter. The monsoons in Asia would fail. The crops in Europe and Brazil would die from the cold. The UN estimates that global food stocks would last only 74 days. After that, mass hunger would begin. The global economy would collapse completely. The dollar, the foundation of the economy, would lose its value if the United States were buried in ashes. It would be the end of modern civilization as we know it. It's a nightmare scenario, but before you panic, let's return to reality. What is the volcano doing now? Is it showing any signs? The answer is yes and no. Yellowstone is an unsettled place. The land there breathes, literally. The park's ground rises and falls about 2 to 3 centimeters a year, like the chest of a sleeping giant. In 2003, in the Norris Basin, the ground heated up so much that tourists' boots began to melt. New fumaroles opened up in the middle of the forest, cooking the trees from the inside out. The area had to be closed off. Steamboat Geyser, the largest active geyser in the world, had been dormant for years. Suddenly, in 2018, it woke up and set eruption records. Scientists were on alert. Earthquakes are daily occurrences. Sometimes, swarms of 1,000 tremors happen in a week. For a tourist, it is frightening. For the geologists at YVO, it is just a normal Tuesday. The good news is that seismic tomography scans show that the magma chamber is not ready. For it to explode, the magma needs to be at least 50% melted. In Yellowstone today, it is estimated that only 15% to 20% is liquid. The rest is a paste of solid crystal. But that doesn't mean the park is safe. In 1959, a magnitude 7.2 earthquake struck Hebgen Lake on the edge of the park. An entire mountain collapsed, killing 28 campers and creating a new lake, Earthquake Lake. And the most common danger is not the eruption, it is the water. The hot springs of Yellowstone are beautiful but deadly. Many are acidic enough to dissolve a human body in hours. In 2016, a young man named Colin Scott stepped off the trail to test the water temperature. He slipped and fell into a hot spring in the Norris Basin. Due to a storm, the rescue team could only return the next day. When they returned, there was no longer a body. The acidic, boiling water had dissolved everything, even the bones. Yellowstone does not forgive mistakes. It is a wild park, not Disneyland. Animals know this. In winter, bison gather near the geysers to warm themselves, but many die suffocated by the carbon dioxide that accumulates in the depressions of the land. The White Death is always lurking. The fear of a supereruption is so great that NASA has developed a theoretical plan to kill the volcano. The idea sounds like a science fiction movie, to drill into the magma chamber. The plan would be to drill 10-kilometer deep holes on the sides of the volcano and pump in cold water at high pressure. The water would steal the heat from the magma, cooling the chamber and preventing the pressure from exploding. The water would return to the surface at 350 degrees, which could be used to generate clean geothermal energy for the entire country. Infinite energy and global security. Sounds perfect, right? But there is a risk. Drilling into a supervolcano is like performing brain surgery with a construction drill. If they miscalculate, the drilling itself could destabilize the chamber's ceiling and cause the eruption they were trying to avoid. Moreover, the cost would be astronomical, $3 billion, and the cooling process would take thousands of years. No government wants to invest in a project whose results will only be seen in the year 4000. USGS scientists are skeptical. They say that the most likely scenario for the future of Yellowstone is not a super eruption, but rather a lava flow. This has happened before. The volcano can simply crack and release rivers of slow lava for months or years. This would destroy the park and close tourism, but it wouldn't end the world. It's the good scenario. Another real and unpredictable danger is hydrothermal explosions. Groundwater can flash into steam instantly, exploding the rock above without warning. This creates craters hundreds of meters wide. The Mary Bay crater in Yellowstone Lake was created by one of these explosions. It is the largest hydrothermal explosion crater in the world. This could happen tomorrow, with no prior seismic signs. Modern science has advanced a lot. Today, we have satellites that measure if the ground has risen by a millimeter. We have gravity sensors that detect if the magma is moving down below. Yellowstone won't catch us by surprise like Mount St. Helens did. We will have warnings. Weeks, perhaps months or years of increasing earthquakes and ground deformation before the main event. The question is, what would we do with this warning? How do you evacuate half a continent? The fear of Yellowstone fuels a prepper industry. People are building bunkers and stockpiling food in the eastern United States, away from the death zone, waiting for the day when the sky will darken. Hollywood loves this volcano. In the movie 2012, Woody Harrelson watches the eruption of Yellowstone with manic joy. Pop culture has turned the volcano into an apocalypse celebrity. But the biggest enemy of the park today is not the magma, it is us. Tourists throw trash into the geysers. The famous Morning Glory pool has lost its blue color and turned green because coins and trash clogged the chimney and lowered the water temperature. Drones fall into hot springs. People try to cook chicken in the volcanic waters. Our lack of respect for nature is more visible than its fury. The indigenous tribes that lived in the region 11,000 years ago knew how to respect the place. They used Yellowstone obsidian to make arrowheads, but they did not live in the center of the caldera. They understood that it was land of spirits. The obsidian cliff in the park is proof of that connection. The volcanic glass found there was traded as far away as Ohio, thousands of miles away. Yellowstone shaped America's economy long before the dollar. A recent theory suggests that the Yellowstone hotspot may be losing strength. The North American plate is moving over it, and the magma trail is encountering a thicker, cooler crust in the Rocky Mountains. Maybe the monster is dying of old age. Perhaps the super eruption 640,000 years ago was the last great gasp. But geology is a science of uncertainties. Betting against a volcano is betting your own life. The Lamar Valley, known as the American Serengeti, is full of wolves and elk. It is ironic that a place representing the purest wildlife in America is sitting atop the largest weapon of mass destruction in nature. The reintroduction of wolves in 1995 changed the ecosystem, proving that nature balances itself. The volcano is part of that balance. Past eruptions enrich the soil, allowing these forests to exist. There are petrified forests in Yellowstone, trees transformed into stone by ancient eruptions, layer upon layer. They are a history book that tells us, this has happened before, and it will happen again. The gases that come from the ground, helium-4 and carbon dioxide, are messengers from the mantle. They reach the surface long before the magma. Today the levels are stable. The giant sleeps, but it snores loudly. O Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, with its yellow stones, was carved by water in the rock, weakened by heat. It is proof that fire and water work together here to sculpt the landscape. If you visit Yellowstone, enjoy the view, but pay attention to the ground. If you feel a vibration that isn't a truck passing by, remember what's underneath you. The ash from Yellowstone, called Huckleberry Ridge tuff, is found in thick layers even in the southern United States. In past eruptions, animals died suffocated thousands of kilometers away, their bones preserved in the ash, like in Pompeii. The only rival of Yellowstone was Lake Toba in Indonesia, which erupted 74,000 years ago and nearly extinguished the human race, reducing our population to just a few thousand individuals. Supervolcanoes are genetic bottlenecks. We, humans, are descendants of the survivors of supervolcanoes. We have resilience in our blood, but our technological civilization is fragile. A computer chip does not work with volcanic ash. Imagine a world without the internet, without GPS, without flights. That's what a global gray cloud would do today. We wouldn't go back to the Stone Age, but we would return to the 19th century in a matter of weeks. Billionaires are buying land in New Zealand and building bunkers, partly out of fear of events like this. They know that money can't buy a new sky, but we shouldn't live in fear. The likelihood of you dying in a car accident on the way to Yellowstone is infinitely greater than dying in an eruption there. The park is a place to contemplate deep time. Looking at the stars and the geysers is to realize that our human life is a blink of an eye in the life of the planet. The thermophilic bacteria that give vibrant colors to hot springs are the oldest forms of life on Earth. They have survived all eruptions. They are the true owners of the park. NASA studies these bacteria to understand how life could exist on Mars or the moons of Jupiter. Yellowstone is a window to the universe and to hell at the same time. Every spring, the ice melts, the bears wake up, and the cycle begins again. The volcano provides the heat that allows life to flourish in a place that would otherwise be a frozen desert. Without the hotspot of Yellowstone, the local ecosystem would be poor. The monster is also the creator. It is the duality of nature, Shiva, the destroyer, and the transformer. Scientists use seismic waves from distant earthquakes to illuminate the Earth's interior, like an X-ray. This is how we know the shape of the magma chamber. Each year, the image becomes clearer. In the future, we may have technology to relieve the pressure. Perhaps NASA's plan to drill will no longer be fiction. Planetary engineering may be our only defense against geology. Until then, we watch. The mud pots bubble. The steam rises. The smell of sulfur reminds us that the devil is cooking dinner down below. If you are going to visit, respect the rules. Do not stray from the trail. Do not touch the animals. The park kills careless tourists every year without needing an eruption. The forest rangers are the unsung heroes. They protect the park from people and people from the park. They live on top of the bomb and sleep peacefully. When the first explorers told about Yellowstone in the 19th century, boiling rivers, geysers shooting water 50 meters high, no one believed them. They called it Coulter's Hell. They thought it was the tales of drunks. It was necessary for the painter Thomas Moran to go there and draw the colors to convince Congress to protect the land. Art saved Yellowstone from mining and exploitation. Yes, it almost became a mine. Imagine mining on top of a supervolcano. Human greed almost destroyed the place before the volcano could do it. Today, it is a heritage of humanity. It belongs to all of us, and the threat it represents also belongs to all of us. Political borders do not stop the ash clouds. Yellowstone is a reminder of humility. We are not the owners of the earth. We are tenants, and the owner can decide to terminate the lease at any time without notice. The final question is not whether we will survive Yellowstone. Humanity would likely survive, even if civilization fell. The question is, what will we do with the time we have before the clock runs out? While Old Faithful continues to shoot its water into the sky, marking time like a geological metronome, we continue our small and frantic lives. Enjoy the beauty, respect the power, and be grateful for every day that the ground beneath your feet remains solid and cold. The monster sleeps, and while it sleeps, we can dream. But never forget, he has the key to the end of the world in his pocket. If you want to keep exploring the dangers and wonders of our planet before it explodes, subscribe to the channel. We have much more to discover, from the depths of the ocean to solar storms. See you in the next documentary.